Evan, it's been a few years since you played for the Bengals and Texans. What's life after the NFL been like for you? I know for some guys it's a tough transition, but man, I see you've written a book, you got your master's degree. Looks like
Yeah.
you've done pretty well.
Yeah. It was tough walking away from football. I've been playing football since I was 13 years old. And honestly, it's what I saw my purpose in, it's what I saw my value in, it's what I could do on the football field. And when I decided to walk away in 2017, it was a struggle, but I had a great support system with my wife and my family, and I had an understanding of what I wanted to do off the field, which is continue to impact the childhood cancer community with running our foundation, the Still Strong Foundation. I speak all over the world about resiliency and overcoming adversity. And me and my wife actually have a podcast about relationships where we basically share our experiences through our marriage, the ups and the downs, and we try to help people along their journey of marriage and relationships.
Well, since you just mentioned that, I was going to bring it up, and Asha's on the call with us right now. Tell me your best marital advice. My wife and I say it's always communication. Let each other know exactly how you're. Sometimes it's tough. Sometimes you got to do it through a text message, email, whatever it is, but communicate. What is it for you guys?
Go ahead, you can take it.
I think communication is really big, but I think also having patience with each other because it's a journey that you don't have all the answers to. So we just always try to give each other grace and not put too much pressure on each other if we don't get it right.
Yeah. And for me, it has to be connection. Obviously, communication is very important, but people can communicate good and people can communicate bad. But when you are able to connect with your partner, you're able to communicate with them in a way in which they can receive it and understand it, and y'all can overcome whatever struggles you're going through.
I tell you what, as parents of twin girls who were 7 years old, patience is something I pray for constantly. I need patience with them. We need patience all day long. I want to ask you about how closely you watch the NFL. Do you still pay attention? Are you in tune? Are you following the teams, or how have you tuned
So
it out?
let's have a real moment. So no, when I walked away from football, it was hard to watch the game because a lot of times when you walk away from football, it's not when you really want to. So it's like I tell people this all the time. It's like breaking up with a girlfriend and you're constantly checking on her Instagram to see what's going on. It's hard to do. So I didn't really watch football a lot when I walked away from football because I really needed time to grieve what I once had in my life. And I'm coming to a place now where I'm more comfortable watching the sport now that I've really found my purpose outside of football.
I like that comparison you made with the Instagram and checking.
Oh yeah.
Your wife was smiling as I mean, people do that, man, right?
Man,
People,
oh yeah.
people do that. When you were at Penn State and you blew out your knee and then you
Yeah.
broke your leg and back-to-back years, right? And your
Yeah.
NFL dream might be on hold. It might not develop. It might not happen. What was going through your mind then? How tough of a journey was that and the obstacles that you had to overcome?
It was a struggle. It was one of the hardest struggles I ever been through. Like you said, getting injured back to back years, and then I'm seeing all my teammates live out their dream. They have a chance to go out there and play in front of 110,000 fans in Beaver Stadium. It hurt knowing that I wasn't able to be out there with my team. It hurt, having the thoughts that my childhood dream of making it to the NFL wasn't going to come to fruition. But I had to find a purpose that was bigger than my pain. There were often times where I wanted to give up and just walk away from football, walk away from Penn State. But I just told myself that I was going to do everything I could to get back out on the field. And when I got on the field, I was going to make the most of my opportunity. And that's exactly what I did because my senior year, I became an All-American Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year and was drafted 53rd overall. So just being able to switch that mindset and, get myself into a place where I knew if I just got the opportunity, I was going to make the most of it. It helped save my NFL dream.
What was that moment like when you heard your name called, when you were drafted 53rd overall, second round?
All right, so we're going to have another honest moment. So I was projected to go in the first round. So I got invited to New York. And, as a child growing up, being able to watch people walk across the stage when they got their name called and give Roger Goodell that big hug is something I always envisioned for myself. So when I accepted the invitation to New York, that's all I thought about. And the first day went by. I'm seeing everybody get their name called, their lives changed, they're excited, their family's excited, and the first day ends, my name doesn't get called, and it completely crushed me. I remember going back to the hotel and I'm just crying. I'm throwing pillows in my hotel room, and I'm just frustrated. I thought about not going back for day two. People around me, like different agents, was telling me that I wasn't going to get drafted in the second round either, and I just saw my dreams crumbling. But my dad talked me into going back the second day, and I'm glad he did, because my name did get called, and I was able to walk across that stage and give Roger that big old hug that I used to always see players give him. So just being able to embrace that moment and being able to experience that was a blessing.
Man, I love your honesty and your transparency. It's refreshing. So, thinking you're going to be drafted in the first round, were you at the combine then? Were you had you been
I
invited?
did go to the combine.
You did
Yep.
go to the combine. What were the
Yep.
conversations like with those? I just wrote a story yesterday, and I'm working on another one about how the NFL is trying to change aspects of the combine. Some guys have been asked the most humiliating questions, and the league doesn't want teams to do that anymore. Did you face any of that when you were doing those one-on-one interviews? Were you asked anything outrageous?
No, I knew exactly what I was going into. I didn't get asked anything outrageous. A lot of it just pertained to me being able to overcome the adversity I faced early on with the injuries. How I was able to bounce back from that. They was checking on my football IQ. So I didn't get any crazy type of questions during my interview process.
Yeah, nothing like Des Bryant. I hope
No, I've heard of some crazy stuff.
Yeah,
Man.
when you played in Cincy, Bengals, you played for where they were really good, went to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Marvin Lewis hasn't had an opportunity though to coach since he left Cincinnati. How surprising is that he hasn't had that chance?
It's really surprising. Like I said, like you said, he's done amazing things with the Bengals. They went so many years without making it to the playoffs. And when he came along, of course, there were some rough times in the beginning of his tenure, but he was able to get the Bengals to a place where they were constantly going to the playoffs. So he has what it takes in order to be a good coach in the NFL. And I know he's just waiting on the right opportunity. And hopefully it comes soon.
How is your daughter doing, man?
She's doing really good. This past March, she just turned 6 years cancer-free. So she's just enjoying her life now, being out of the hospital, not having to worry about getting chemo and things of that nature.
I remember when she was diagnosed, and we saw the videos and all the information that was put out there, and just praying for you guys. And I know that you were cut, right? And the Bengals brought you back onto the practice squad to help pay for her treatment. Like, it looked to me like there was an outpouring of support from the NFL community, the jersey sales to support pediatric cancer. I think even Sean Payton from the Saints coach bought 100 jerseys. What did that make you feel then? How did you feel then? And now when you look back at it, to have that support?
It meant the world to me because I was going through a time in my life where I was at rock bottom and I couldn't do anything for the Bengals. And the way that they were able to step up for me and my family and let me know that I didn't have to put football first, that I could put my family first and I could be there for my daughter, it meant the world. And just to have not only the sports world, but people all over the country who knew nothing about football, knew nothing about sports, reach out to us and let us know that we wasn't going to have to go through this alone, that they was going to be there every step of the way, not just for us, but for the fight against childhood cancer overall, I think was extremely important in helping us get over that hump in our life.
Man, I know your faith journey was tested at that time.
Yeah.
Tell me about your journey to the Lord and how you got there, and then to go through that with your daughter. Like, I can't even imagine having to go through that. And how was it tested, and how did it help you throughout the whole process?
Yeah, so what a lot of people don't know is coming out during my second year in the NFL, I was battling a lot of injuries. I had dislocated my elbow against the Lions. I was out for 5 weeks. When I made it back, I blew out my back against the Steelers, had to get season-ending back surgery. A week after that, I ended up getting rushed to the hospital because I had multiple blood clots in my lungs where I almost died. And there was just a lot of crazy stuff going on in my life. And my wife had, brought up to me that maybe we should get back to church and try to create a relationship with God, because I was going through a lot of darkness in my life. And, darkness is not actually a thing, but it's an absence of light. So we went back to church to, take on our faith journey together to try to bring some light into our life. We ended up getting baptized together. And, you know, when you're not really educated on the word, you think that once you get baptized, like everything in your life is going to go great. But I remember when we came up out of the water, the pastor said that this is when the enemy tries to attack you most. And those are the words I held on to, because 2 months later is when we got that diagnosis of Leah having cancer. And it was a struggle. Now that I just had this newfound faith, I didn't really know how to take it, because I'm like, God, I just gave my life to you. And then now there's a chance that my daughter's life may be taken. But I realized soon after that Leah had stage 4 cancer, which means she had it for a long time without us knowing. And maybe this wasn't, God allowing this to happen to Leah, but he was revealing of what was going on in her life so that we had a chance to save her. And that's just the approach we took to it. And then I just saw him use us as a vessel to really make an impact on this world, because I saw the change that was happening, not only in the NFL, but in the world as a whole, and how it just brought people from all different backgrounds together. And it really showed how much positivity and how much love is still out there in this world, despite some of the things we may see in the news.
That is a powerful, powerful testimony, and I appreciate you sharing that. I wanted to ask you about what you're doing now, teaming up with Clear Blue and actress Jordana Brewster, having open conversations about the struggles that people face on the journey to getting pregnant. What inspired you to join this cause?
Okay.
So we started our TTC journey about 3 years ago. We were trying to conceive a baby, and we just wasn't getting the results that we were expecting. It was we were running into a lot of issues. So we started to think, what was wrong with us? Was it something wrong with me? Was it something wrong with Devon? And that's when Clear Blue had reached out to us and sent us their Clear Blue ovulation test system for us to use. And that basically helped me to track my fertility, because I had no idea what I was supposed to be doing in order to conceive, and how my fertility played a huge role in that. And so using that test system helped us along the journey, because a few months after that, we found out that we were pregnant, and we had our daughter Aria, who's now going on 2. But also the fall of last year, we wanted to expand our family even more. And once again, we went to the ovulation test system, and a lot faster this time, we ended up getting the pregnancy results. But when we went to our doctor's appointment, unfortunately, we found out that I was having an embryonic pregnancy, which basically meant that the gestational sac was there, but there was no embryo growing. And so that will result in a miscarriage. And so that's why, once again, we connected with Clear Blue to just be able to have this conversation, because it comes with a lot of shame for a lot of people, unfortunately, but it's nothing to be shameful about. And we wanted to have this conversation to let people know that, we're going through this journey just as well as anybody else, and we could be a light and a resource for them, along with Clear Blue, to help them throughout their journey.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That had to be difficult for you going through that at that time, and that's great that it worked out for you, and had one child. Devon, again, your faith through that, both of you tested, right? It was tested again, and then you maintained. How did you just lean on each other and lean on the word?
Yeah, it's very important for us not to lean on our own understanding, because like when we face certain struggles in our life, we try to figure things out, and sometimes it doesn't make any sense. So we try not to lean on our own understanding. We just trusted the journey that God has put us on. If it's in our cards, then we'll have a baby. If not, then we're just going to learn to love what we have now, learn to love the family that we have now, and just never take that for granted, because like we faced 7 years ago, we know how things can change in a blink of an eye. So it's just learning to be grateful for what we do have. Of course, there are things that we want in our life, but if it's not for us, then it's not for us.
Yeah.
On that note, on that Proverbs 3:5-6, thank you for dropping a verse in there. I appreciate it. I know you got to run to do another interview. Thank you so much, guys. Wish you a ton of blessings.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.